Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Ask the Experts for Tuesday, 12th of April. My name is Carl Capolingua. I'm the market analyst over here at Think Markets, and it is a pleasure to be with you as we delve into the depths of your portfolio. And it probably couldn't happen at a better time with markets somehow unraveling again. Apart from that, that's the formalities out of the way. Let's head over to you and get your portfolio questions answered. And first in, best dressed this week is Lee with DRO and GRR. Just quickly on the ASX 200, much better. Look, I mean, a fantastic rally from those lows. It got well above the Nasdaq, only just eked above its long-term trend zone. This one well above, swung the short-term trend to upside, and that's all very positive. We are seeing a pretty clear supply side pattern here in terms of sort of this shadow. So look at the upper shadow here, the upper shadow here, the upper shadow here, and some of these black candles, and that would indicate that, you know, we're more than likely going to see a bit of a move down. Where is the support going to come into? Well, we've got this short-term trend zone, which should be dynamic support as it tends to be on the way up. So, for example, there, and here, for example, all areas where they've supported in the past. That is what we might expect here. And 73.57, which is that key level to the upside previously, now hoping to act as an area of demand. So again, looking for the right pattern in here, and that would give me some reason to take heart that we can see a bounce and then potentially a test of new all-time highs. But a lot is going to depend on that Nasdaq. Okay, let's head over and have a look at DRO. So I guess just providing some context to some of these individual stock charts we're going to look at today. Droneshield, bit of a technology stock there. They build, I think, drones and the components for drones are keeping going. So a lot of military applications, but a lot of industrial espionage applications as well. Looks pretty good, I'd say, on the short-term trend. It's good to see after such a prolonged period of sideways movement that it is moving back up. In terms of the price action, not bad. It's a little bit sketchy. It's hard to draw price action on this one, to be fair, but let's just say that that's kind of what we're looking at here. So if we look at our trough to peak separation, so we're talking about this distance from here to here. So we want to see good separation here because it tells us that the old point of supply is indeed acting as the new point of demand. And we know that people who got out potentially in this area here are very disappointed by the time we get here, and they would like to buy it back if they could. And if they could buy it back, they'd like to do it as close as possible to where they got out originally, which is down here. So if we see them starting to come into the market early, it just speaks to the huge amount of demand that's in the system. As technical traders, we know that there's potentially going to be demand down here, so we may be looking to buy early as well. And if you know there's going to be demand, yes, things pull back, and we're seeing that at the moment. But if you know that things are probably only going to pull back so far, why would you sell it either? You'd be waiting to sell down here because that would be confirmation that demand is no longer in the system. Okay, so with limited supply and clearly increased demand, that is good price action. So we're seeing that here. I think that's a good sign. Moving averages all doing the right thing, and importantly, we have cracked through this old point of supply through here. So this area here is a major point of supply. How do you know it's major? Well, look how poorly the price responded from there. Okay, so we've got a lot of people stuck in the market from here, and really what they would like to do is if the price got back up there, they would love to get out because that would give them break even. It would potentially, for them psychologically, erase their mistake. So it's no surprise that we did see supply come in here. Should be any surprise at all that we've seen supply come in here. And to get rid of that supply, remember, it is this pool of supply that's sitting up here. We need to trade with it, and we do that by what we call testing that supply level, and that's what we're doing it now. So we've had a first test there, which is great to see, and that means on any second or subsequent test, we're much more likely to push through that point of supply, go higher. To tell us that we are indeed removing that supply, and the only way to remove that supply is to trade with the dead wood that's been in there for 8-9 months now. We need to see volume. Okay, and that's tell us that we are actually trading. If we hit that level without volume, we're not really trading with that dead wood. But it's good to see that is coming in here. So tick. I'm pretty happy with it. If you've got it, absolutely hold on to it. If you don't have it, the only thing holding me back from calling it a buy is just the sketchiness of the chart. So lots of black candles in there, trades in very small ranges, inconsistent volume. and that would be the only thing. Zooming out to the longer term chart, I'm just going to delete all of this stuff so I can see more clearly what's going on. Maybe that'll give me some cleaner candles. Obviously it does. Here's our point of supply. Here's the next one. That could be another problem, around 25 cents. But clearing that, I don't think there's a lot holding it back until we get to maybe 45 with an intermediate level there at 30. I think it's a very strong hold. Maybe it's a speculative buy. Maybe you could go as far as a speculative buy, but definitely a risk money only part of your portfolio. This is Grange. We might as well kick off on the weekly chart. You know, a stairway to heaven there, light green, dark green zones. All looks pretty good. Back to the daily chart. Can't see anything here that would suggest to me that you need to sell it. Right now, it's all very strong. The candles are very good. You compare it to Droneshield, clean candles, white candles, good price action. So we're now comparing, I guess, these peaks and troughs here. We're looking for peak to trough separation. A little bit maybe closer in this next one. I guess we don't know where the next one is, but from what we can see, it's all very good here. So look, a very, very strong hold. Would you run out and buy it right now? Well, you know, I like to buy things when they're closer to the value zone. I think that's you know, when they're coming out of the value zone with some nice candles, I think that's the best time to do it. So an example of that scenario is probably back here, where no doubt I ran it on Twitter as in my shortlist, if not even as a feature chart, or even probably closer to here. So with it trading so far away from the value zone, probably I can't get to an outright buy just yet, but it is a wonderful chart, and certainly if you've got it, as I said at the start, there's very little reason I see there to sell it. CRN, these are for Terry. Let's go to VMS first. BHP Minerals, which looks okay on the chart. And just confirming we're on a daily chart here. So let me just get rid of that for a sec. Okay, because we do like to see this rally here. So this is the sort of move that gets it on my radar. Okay. So yes, we've had a long-term downtrend, very severe, very protracted, you know, from 16 cents, where, let's face it, it was probably one of the hottest stocks going around in all of the chat rooms. And then it moved through a phase of distribution. If you can't see it, then you should be really training your eyes to find things like, well, that wasn't really lower peaks, was it matching peaks? Okay, but certainly the price action changed through here. We had a little bit of a move to an uptrend, and then as we break beneath this trough here, okay, so this becomes our key support level, our key swing level here, okay, because it's the there's an uptrend here, there's a break of this trough through here, and then we get this little uptrend reforming. So this is a key point of demand, okay, and once we break that point of demand, then really there's really no reason after this to continue to hold it. Other things that could have given you clues, obviously, you know, the bearish candles that came in here, price action, you know, another bearish candle here, another set of bearish candles here, all reasons why we need to have these strategies for getting out, just as important as getting in. Moving averages turned as well. Okay, so if you can imagine all of these things here, and imagine turning them upside down, literally inverting the pattern and changing all of the colors around. So every time there's a white candle, turn into a black candle. Every time there's a black candle, turn into a white candle. And if you can do that, that's effectively, if this is kind of the textbook decline, then it becomes the absolute textbook rally or turnaround that could happen somewhere down the track. So that's what we're looking for here. And we're seeing a nice move up. We're seeing a pullback. It's, I guess, part and parcel of having these big moves up. You get these pullbacks. Where's it pulling back to? Well, it's pulling back to an area where we do think there's going to be demand around here. It's yet to be seen. We've seen some nice volume, which indicates great supply removal of much of the dead wood that was sitting and waiting through this area here. That's important. In terms of points of supply going forward, I'd be keeping an eye on something like this that has an upside target or an upside impediment. You know, it would be unlikely for price to just simply burst straight through that level. More than likely, we would need to test and test and test it to remove the supply at that point. So where do we go from here? I need to see the right candles. So I need to see the white candles come in before I could upgrade this to a buy. So right now it's a hold. If you've been suffering on this one for a while, I think it has turned the corner. I think there's enough there in the price action and the volumes to suggest that. We would need now to upgrade it to a buy. So it's on the radar. What turns it into a buy? We need to see some candles come in. Well, this would be a great candle. Obviously, this would be a great candle to see pop in right here, as in right here and right now. Or alternatively, one with the lower shadow. So something that looked like more like this. And if we can see those candles start to appear, and it might not be today, it might be tomorrow, it might take a few days for them to occur, but if we can see them come here and we hold this level, it would be after those candles, okay, upon seeing those candles, and probably not just the shadow, but also the white one. So getting some good confirmation, and it might be even as high as 6.5, 7 by the time we get there. And then I would upgrade that to a buy, and you'll see it on my feature charts for the day. Until then, I'm happy to give it a solid hold. The next one is CRN, which is Coronado Resources, and I know a bunch of people are in this. They've been in it for a while, which is wonderful. It's done all the things that we need a stock to do in the past that maybe Venture Minerals starts to needs to start to do. What pattern do we want to see in Venture Minerals? I've just spotted it there. I can see it. So right there, that's the one there. So you can see how these patterns at those key support levels tend to kick off. There's one there. There's one there. There's some coming in here. You can see when they're occurring at those key support levels, that's how we get trends resuming or picking back up again. All good. What a wonderful candle here and here. These are just amazing. These are fantastic candles. This is a bit concerning. How did it fare against the previous demand candle? We didn't see it push back much into that range. It's probably not too bad. All a bit sketchy through here. This is a good one. This is a good one. And then we get to sort of this, and this, which I'm not that happy with. What it tells me is that we do have a bit of a pool of supply developing here. Is it something so sinister that we should get out? We've seen enough that if you were feeling a bit nervous and you wanted to lighten the load, then you could certainly take some partial profits on it. Apart from that, I can't see any major reason to panic just yet. All I can see is a lot of positivity around at the moment. So this is all still good. This is all still good. And as I said, there are still some decent candles here. If we probably broke below $2 again, we saw it close below $2, that might be your next signal to maybe take the next part of the profits and just run with a small position. Which, if it got back up above here, you could always add back to, right? So just because we get out some doesn't mean we're out forever and we're never allowed to get back in again. It's just about understanding that it's had a great move, might be prone to profit taking, taking some profits. Even if it's just going to go sideways for a period of time, why not take some profits and leave some skin in the game? And then you can always add to it if it tends to go back up again. So I'm probably leaning on the side of, if you're a bit nervous, partial profits. Otherwise, you'd still want some skin in the game on Coronado. Ross has asked for DRE. So we've had DRO, now we're going to do DRE. This is Dreadnought Resources. It's not bad. It's pretty similar to that one we looked at a couple ago, which was VMS. Right, so if we go to VMS, we can see the volume, and we can see this sharp move in price action. So if we go to DRE, we can see the sharp move in price action, and we can see the volume. So this is all good stuff. It's telling me that there's some interest here. It's telling me we've removed some of this deadwood supply that's been around since this peak here at 6. We've done a test of this point of supply here, and there should be no surprises out there at all that we've seen a bit of a reaction back from that level. We have to trade with these with this deadwood. It's similar to VMS also in that there's not a lot to do with it right now. So look, I think there's enough in it to hold it. To upgrade it to buy, I need to see the candles, which I've talked about many times today, occurring in and around this zone. Why this zone? Well, it's where that long-term support and that short-term support should be sort of manifesting itself in the market. Until then, there's not a lot I can do with it. If it broke below, say here, it could take a long time for this one to get going again, and I think you'd want to be erring on the side of caution and looking for something else. Okay, so happy to hold it. Need to see some better candles to call it a buy. And there's a key level there if you are looking for an exit. Okay, just trying to find the next one on the list here. Santos looks pretty similar to Coronado, doesn't it? In that there's a lot to like about it. We're still good here. We're still good here. We're still seeing some white candles popping in the not too distant past. But having said that, it's just starting to feel more and more as you go by that there's a pool of supply, and it's looking like a pretty pesky pool of supply. And I say that because you look at candles like this and this and this, and we really shouldn't be seeing those sorts of candles on a stock in a really healthy trend. So it's a market that's a little bit mixed up because you're getting these demand side candles popping in, getting supply side candles popping in, all in a really tight range. That's not great. That's not great. I think there's certainly enough in there to call it a hold, but clearly there's not enough in there to call it a screaming buy at this stage. So looking for support here at 780. I want to see this demand candle hold. I want to see more demand candles come in there to tell me that we're just in an accumulation phase beneath this level. I wonder if this is a big point of supply from the past, that we go into the weekly chart and try and find that. And it's not really. I mean, the big point of supply is up here around that $9 level. And there's actually not a lot here. So it's interesting to see that it really is having this much trouble around such an insignificant level. Hold, not a buy, I think is the best I can do. What would upgrade it to a buy? We've talked about the candles that you'd need to see around that 780 level. Next one is Paladin, which is a uranium stock. It's very flat. It keeps threatening, doesn't it? I mean, I think I ran it as a feature stock here, and if I go back literally to that point, and you don't look at these candles, it looks great, but unfortunately, the broader market conditions have conspired against, and we've gone a bit risk off. So I think I'm going to be a broken record here and say, with this still pretty good, with this still pretty good, with plenty of demand candles in there, there's enough in it for a hold. It's not a buy, and the reason why it's not a buy is that we are still very, very sideways. I can literally draw a box around that price action. I can draw a larger box around that price action. And until we start to see some clean price action, we probably just have to just wait and watch. And by clean price action, I mean we want to see something more like this occur. Okay, and it's on that sort of move. Okay, it's on this sort of move that you're going to get your real signal to buy this one. That demand is really picking up to the point that supply is not keeping up. I just think there's plenty of demand in the system, but there's plenty of supply in the system as well. And that's probably the best way to describe this one. It's a solid hold. I can't get to a buy just yet, unfortunately, because I thought it was a buy a couple of days ago. But that's where the market is. Let's go to CXL, which is the next one on the list. Again, a victim of the broader market move today, because yesterday I would have said, and I did say, it was one of my feature charts from yesterday. It just looked amazing. And that's just how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately, sometimes. Everything else looks amazing. And what was really neat about this one that we couldn't say about so many we've looked at already today, and hopefully your eyes are already starting to pick this up, is that we have broken through that point of supply. So we've done all that hard work. So we've done our first test. We've done our second test. We've done all the hard work. We finally get to the point where it looks like we're off to the races. The rest of the market's pretty soggy today. So I would say absolutely hang on to this one. One day does not a reversal make, and there was so much going for it prior to that I think you can hang on. In terms of what would upgrade it to a buy, we just have to see what happens with this candle, and then on the next lower shadow, the next white candle, I think you can jump into this one. So keep a close eye on Calix, because it's done all that hard work already. Next couple here. This one's from that was for Kevin. This one's for Lakshan. He's got MVP and FFX Firefinch coming up. Medical developments. It's a tough one here. I'm pretty sure I've covered this one on one occasion for the call, and it falls into that category of one of those sort of biotech stocks with a very high valuation. I think that's why it's struggling. And there's a few of them out there. So if I zoom out, you'll see it was kind of the market darling. It was one of those that nobody knew about, got a great product, everybody knew about, and really is nothing more than a momentum play. It's in terms of valuation, there's very little to support it. It's just a one-sided market where everybody wants to talk about this thing and own this thing, and all of the chat rooms get frothed up into this just one-eyed fervor, and then all of a sudden, they move on to the next shiny thing, and this becomes a total disaster. There might have been some bad news out there, but we've seen it happen so many times. And not only is it just bad for a little while, but then you just get this long period, just years and years of just dead wood waiting to get out and cycling out and asking when is it going to bounce. And probably it's not over. I can't see any redeeming features on this. I can't see one thing on this chart that would suggest to me I need to run out and buy it right now. And really that's just a reflection on the fact that there's very little indication that the market wants to buy it right now. I've got terrible price action. I've got overwhelmingly terrible candles. I've got well-established short and down long-term downtrends. I do have, as a positive, these patterns here tend to be quite positive in that more often than not, you get a big sell-off with volume, with volatility, tends to give you a low, but it's just so unreliable, this particular one. I don't think I need to waste any more time on this. It's not even a hold for me. The next one is FFX. Sorry, Lakshan, got to call it as I see it, and I might be wrong. That might be the exact point to get into medical developments, and it might be 10 times the price by next week for all I know. But all I can go is on the balance of probability, which suggests that the market is just not interested in that one. Market has been interested in this one. I'm starting to see some signs that it's got some problems. So these candles, see this shadow here, even that little one there, and then this one here, I think if we get a close on the low today, if you haven't already exited some of this, taken some profits, manage our exit, I think we need to on this one. So yeah, partial exit on this one. Okay, I think there's enough in these candles to suggest that we're going to get more of a pullback from here. Okay, that we have excess supply in the system, not excess demand. Where could it pull back to? Obviously, around here, $1, a big round number. You don't want to see it slip there too much. If it was to make some of those patterns, so if we can see it's kind of, let's say if it's in this move right now, so let's say at the moment it's kind of here, okay? If we see a pattern that kind of looks like this, okay, and it breaks through this trough through here, that would be another sell point here. So you often get signals sort of in here. So let's say you got a major supply side candle in here. Okay, that's often a cue to minus a third. The next place I like to look for those sell side candles would be here. Watch for them here. They're notoriously going to occur. And of course, we're looking to the future, aren't we? We're pretending that these things might happen in the future. I'm giving you a plan, a schedule for how to manage your exit on this one. Okay, so let's say a big candle. Okay, did we see a big candle? Some would argue that is, some would argue that's not. I think it's pretty close. I think certainly here, by here, that's a big sign that we're not in a demand side market anymore, that we're in a supply side market. So, first step, major supply candle or candles. Okay, second step, we have a bit of a rally, a relief rally, and then we see another supply side candle to reverse the relief rally. Okay, and that equals minus 1/3, and then the break, this break here, break of that little swing low in there. Definitely, if it's a terrible candle, equals minus 1/3, and really just this picture here. Okay, this picture here. This is what you need to have. Print it out, stick it on your wall. Okay, because this is how stocks behave time and time again, and especially when they've had huge run-ups. I mean, it's more prevalent when they've done, these sorts of moves, these sorts of exponential moves prior to making these patterns. Okay, so keep an eye on these things, and that just gives you this great roadmap. At least you're not getting out too early. You're kind of letting it do everything it has to do before you get out. So giving you all these clues that we've moved into excess supply, not excess demand. So imagine this occurring in here, and that is your roadmap for how to get out of Firefinch. Now, if I'm wrong, I'll just give you one last scenario, and then we'll move on. If I'm wrong, then what we will see in this area here are the most amazing demand side candles. Okay, so those demand side candles, if I'm wrong, we will see something like this, something like this, and something like this, or something like this. So any of those 4 candles, so the one with the lower shadow, or the big white ones in this zone, and that would give you cause potentially to hold back on exiting some of this position. I'm not sure if I really could have given you a better blueprint on what to do than that. So let's keep moving. Next one, that was for Lakshay. Next one is for Anthony, AZL, which is, again, one of those great charts. Through here, I would have said that is about as pretty a picture as you could possibly get. We need to see some demand coming in. We need to see it coming in pretty quickly because these are. This was that big reversal zone, if you remember. I think it was actually last week, if I'm not mistaken. That was exactly last Tuesday, where we said a lot of those big rallies had big black candles put next to them, and for a lot of the charts we looked at, it was one of those minus a third events. And then we said we had to wait and see to see some demand come in. We haven't seen it here, so I'm a little bit concerned about this one. Best I can do is a hold. Let's see how this candle goes. Hard to see it doing too well in a market as bad as what we're seeing today. But this is the level. We need to see the demand, because this is where the demand was before. So if the demand's not there anymore, that is concerning. I hope it turns out better for AZL, but it's a little bit crunch time here. A little bit crunch time. We might see that on a few stocks. Anthony saying, is AZL good for re-entry? So maybe Anthony did take some profits on that one, hopefully. No, I don't think so. So it's a very specific question. Is it good for re-entry? No, it's not. And it won't be. It won't be until we see this sort of candle, yep, or the one with the lower shadow, that one there, come in here. Okay, next one, a bit of a somber mood today, isn't it, compared to previous Ask the Experts where things were booming and we were all having a relatively good time. BRN, another one of those again. It got going, didn't it? Not that long ago. I probably should have done the textbook reversal on this. Hopefully you can see it though. Hopefully your eye is being tuned in to what I'm talking about. Here's our exponential move, right? And then we're looking at the price action from here, and we're looking for some of the signals in that price action. So really, I could not have picked anything better. So surely your eye is now looking at this guy, Carl. I can see exactly where, I didn't have this, Carl, of course, and I wish I did at the time, but I didn't have it. But I can see exactly now how that would have been a big signal there to exit a third, or if not that one, certainly the next day. And then, Carl, I can see how it rallied, just like you said it would, okay, to this day here. And then we got that big signal, again, the big supply candle. And looking at that, Carl, I would have known exactly what to do. I would have sold. And if I needed another invitation, Carl, to sell my final third, it was this candle here, which is really ugly. But if I didn't see that for whatever reason, then certainly as it broke through that swing low in between that relief rally peak, then 100%. If I had any reason to still be in it at that stage, Carl, then 100% I would have been out a third. And I wouldn't be complaining about it right now. I would have locked in some pretty good profits net, and I'd be pretty happy that I'm not in it right now. I'd also be saying that with just consistently black candles, a well-established downtrend, and with lower peaks, lower troughs, and now the potential also of breaking through this long-term uptrend, there's really no reason to own this stock at this point in time, and nothing in it in terms of volume to tell me that any demand is coming back into the system to rescue this one. If there's any redeeming features, it is that there was some significant demand around here to kick off the trend, and maybe that's where some of the money who got out, let's face it, who got out above $2, might come back in and buy it and say, hey, we rode it from $70 to $2.40. Maybe it's starting to look cheap at 70 again, but it's not there yet. So that one's a big pass for me, Jack. Sorry, but doesn't look good. If anything, maybe it's given us a case study for how to deal with these things. Pilbara Minerals, one which I would have said looked very good here. Again, market conditions haven't helped us, and it's been pretty consistent. So if you're looking for signals to get out, if you weren't confident enough to act upon this one, and I can see maybe why you wouldn't be. I think once you see that one, you're starting to think, well, this is not really going my way. If it is doing all the right things, why shouldn't we be seeing this? And then it's not looking good from here. So, and it's taken out this level as well. What do we do with it now? Okay, well, how are we going on this level here? It looks like today it's probably going to take that out. today's pretty crucial. I mean, this is a live candle. So by the end of the day, let me see if I can even update this. If we can see this shadow form, and if we can see it push back up and close near the highs, and definitely above $3, it might be telling us that some of this demand that we would expect to see, this old point of supply here, acting as a point of demand. And we saw it, you see that? So that shadow just came in, so that's helpful. If we can see it hold this level, then I'd be happy just to hang on and just give it a few more days, because this area here is a pretty decent area of demand. It's been demand in the past. Why shouldn't it be demand in the future? So getting the right candles in here will give me confidence that this long-term uptrend is very much intact, and therefore we can stick with this one. It's clearly not a buy for the reasons we've discussed, but let's see a few days with some candles in here, and I'm not even sure if it would become a buy just there, but would certainly give me more confidence to hold. So there's a few problems here, unfortunately, and this is becoming quite a key level. So we can see that little shadow evolving. Let's hope by the end of the day that there's a nice big lower shadow on that one. Wish I had better news again, sorry. Andrew saying the last few days have been a wrecking ball. Absolutely, totally agree. Next one from King, SFX. And it's been a great trend. I know this one's come up plenty of times, but again, you have to be attentive for some of these signals here. So, and again, hopefully your eyes in on these, and you're screaming at the screen. You go, wow, look, that pattern, that candle together, that pattern is telling me that I need to start to just do a little bit of this. And for whatever reason, I might know this one, I might know Sheffield, I might know where they're kicking over rocks in the desert and where they're digging, but regardless of what I know about this one, it just seems that we've shifted from this period of, this fantastic period here of excess demand, right, where everybody wants to be in and nobody wants to be out, to now it's just looking like excess supply, just creeping in here. That doesn't mean it's going to go down forever. That's just silly to think like that. But what it could mean is that we've got potentially, one of those corrective phases that we've seen lots of, and we come into here and we go, two scenarios. We go all the way back up, and there was nothing to worry about, or we start to build something like this, like we've seen so many other times. And if that's the case, I think there's enough in this to look at it. This is just my personal opinion here. You do whatever you need to do. That's your business. Return num.com, we get that. But I think that's where we are right now in this one. Okay, I just think there's enough in there based upon what we've seen to go minus a third, and we've got a roadmap for how it might play out and how we can manage the rest of the position. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope we start to see some white candles before even we get to that short-term uptrend zone, and that short-term uptrend zone is going to creep higher, probably to say 55. And if we saw those beautiful white candles coming in, they look like that. They look like that. You might get a cluster that just looks like that. Those 4 or 5 candles all popping in this zone here. Then hey, nothing to worry about. You got out of a third, not the end of the world. If it starts to look good, you can always get back in that third. But at least we've given ourselves some protection against if it does completely unravel like many of these other ones that we've seen. Okay, King's comments on Sheffield doesn't seem to get spoken about, but had a good little run recently. Certainly has. It's definitely been on my radar. One that's also popped up on my radar is this next one here for GS, and that is Cann Group. Now, probably a very interesting one. So not probably, it is an interesting one. So we talked about medical developments before, right? We talked about this idea of something which we go in these phases, right? Where nobody knows about it, everybody knows about it. It's the hottest thing ever, and then it's just nobody cares about it anymore. Let's move on to the next shiny new thing, and we get these really long downtrends. But that doesn't mean those downtrends are going to last forever. And one of my favourite setups, yes, I like bottom left, top right, but the other thing I look for is these sorts of setups, okay? Because when they move, they can move very quickly. So long-term, well-established downtrends. But unlike one of the other ones like Brainchip, what we're seeing is, remember Brainchip, we said there's no volume, there's no interest, there's nothing happening there. But then we look at a little pickup here, right? We get a little stiff of it there. Then we get one here. Then we get a big one here, and we get some candles. We get some movement to the upside. It's back on the radar for whatever reason. And I'm sure people are very close to the story, and they'll be able to tell you the reason. Please close your ears and run away. Don't let them tell you the reason why this one's so good. Just look at the chart. That's all you need to know. Now, so this is on my radar. So this gets it on my radar. Doesn't mean I'm going to buy it, right? And if you look at a bunch of the ones I've put on Twitter that have gone on to absolute massive moves after breaking their downtrends, I've only put them on after these next few things have occurred, right? So we need to see now. So yes, this is all good. So tick, 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 it's broken through the long-term downtrend zone. But I need to see just a test and a push back up. And preferably also that wherever that last little peak was, and you can see it's probably around there, right? And then this is all clean up to here. We're seeing that trough to peak separation, right? So once we get that, and it's too early just right now, but once we get that, in addition to obviously these wonderful candles we've seen here and here, okay, and with the volume, all good, then it gets upgraded to a buy for me. So right now, it's on my radar. Today's candle is uncertain. We don't know whether it's going to close, but it doesn't have to be a trough necessarily. It could just be a cluster of these lower shadows in and around this zone, holding within this candle here, this demand side candle. So just move that out of the way. So this candle here. So as long as this low, that low there, that low 36.5, as long as it's protected, as long as we don't close beneath that, I think that's very constructive. But it's going to take a few days. It's going to take a few days before I can upgrade this one to a buy. Obviously, it's on my radar, so it's a very, very solid hold. But I think you just want to watch it before you jump in. So that one was for, actually that one was for Deborah. Sorry, cheers, if I said that was for you, that's for Deborah. Anthony wants technicals on EL8, which is ElevateUranium. Now, what is wonderful, I'm glad we're getting this great spread of stocks today, because we're seeing how different stocks have responded to what Andrew described as a wrecking ball. So Andrew has said, a lot of the great stocks I've had, they looked great, and then the market has just swung this huge wrecking ball through a lot of my stocks. And we've seen how that's impacted the price action. And this is a great example to have, because it's showing us that not all stocks are being impacted in the same way. And I would argue, and again, hopefully your eye is just picking up, just screaming at the, just screaming at the screen, hey Carl, this one's way better. This one's very different. I'm not seeing all those big black candles. I'm not seeing all those huge upper shadows. I'm not seeing it pressure into areas which were demand and failing at those areas. I'm seeing there's still demand in the system here. I'm seeing that despite all the carnage out there in some of these little mining companies, this one is holding really firm. Yes, we're at elevated volume than where we were not that long ago. Yes, that is telling me, speaking to me about the supply removal that is going on at that major point of supply there, just beneath 80 cents. Okay. And we're not rejecting, we're not failing, we're not running away, we're not scared by it. We're actually holding really steady here and here. And that demand candle low is really being protected by the latent demand that's in the system. We've got a wonderful uptrend, and I think there's so much going for this. Let me zoom out. I want to just see what are the next levels above 80 cents. And you know what? There's not a lot there. I like this one. I really like it. Out of all the stocks that we've seen today, I've said, oh, look, this is a solid hold, can't buy it. I'd actually say that given the relative performance of this one against the rest of the sector, so this candle here is standalone candle. If you just looked at that candle, you wouldn't say, oh, that's a screaming buy. But I think given the relative performance of this one against everything else, I think that candle is enough to actually call this a buy. Now, obviously, let's let it finish. Let's see shadow still there. I'd be happy to buy this one. I think it's great. ElevateUranium is the best stock we've seen today, hands down. I'm sure Anthony is smiling as he listens to that, because he's probably got a few others as well that maybe aren't looking as good. Helen's got Select Harvest for us, SHV. And it was looking okay, wasn't it, Helen? It's a shame, because it was getting a little bit of its mojo back there, and it was starting to behave like that Cann chart, CAN, in that, yes, there's a downtrend. So we have this long-term trend is established. What we didn't see, now we saw this price action, that's all good, and some wonderful candles through here. I mean, just beautiful, beautiful candles. What we didn't see though, Helen, was really not a lot going on here, was there? Not really a lot to say that there's a lot of weight, I think, coming in in terms of demand and removing some of that deadwood supply that's in the market. Today's candle's not great at all, and it is happening at a level which you would say is consistent with where you'd think supply would come in, not just from this long-term downtrend, but also from these points of supply in the past. They're not far from there. We know there's probably going to be a pool of supply there. So, yeah, look, I mean, I think if I really squint, there's probably just enough in there to hold it on the basis of all these wonderful things that were happening before this move. But a move like today, let's face it, if you were looking for a sell signal, right? If you were looking for that one-third sell signal, if the candle closed like this today, it's hard not to call it, well, if you're looking to manage your exit, it's hard not to call it a minus one-third. And that's how, I guess, disappointing it is given that it was looking promising prior to that. So without all the other good stuff like nice long-term uptrends and well-established short-term trends and good price action over a long period of time, I can't call that one a buy, and I'm almost struggling to call it a hold, I think. But hopefully it does pick up again for you, Helen, if you have it. If you don't have it, you're just thinking about buying it. No, I think it's too early. Let's see a little bit more evidence. So and don't be afraid to tell me what your intentions are as well. That always helps me. Otherwise, I end up waffling through all the different scenarios, don't I? Which is not always productive. So Helen, maybe she's got it and she wants to know where to go. Maybe she's just bought it. Maybe she's looking to buy it because Helen's asked me for a few of these sneaky ones, and generally there's something good going on there. And I'm wondering if Helen's style is to try and find these turnaround plays. And if that's the case, then our discussion on Cann will be really interesting for you, Helen, because it talks about some of the things we do want to see in those turnaround play scenarios. So if I start to see all the right candles coming in here, Helen, then I'm happy to overlook that one, but I'll wait no until I see them. Okay, Roberto has got ASO, which is a bit flat. I'm going to do this one very quickly. A lot of good stuff happening there, but not enough good stuff to get me to a buy. It's borderline hold as well. We just want to see some more price action. It was looking good. I can tell you, that candle there, I'm getting really excited, but it's just fizzled too easily. And look at that Elevate, EL8, how strong that's been. It hasn't fizzled. And then we've got so many other ones that have just fizzled. So yeah, I think you could just be in for a bit more of a wait on that one. It's definitely not a buy for me. Terry Scott, hi Carl, you were right regarding your sell on ARU. Let's have a look at ARU. But unfortunately missed it. Okay, that's all right. Will it hold here and consolidate? Your thoughts, please. And if I said to sell it, I reckon I got a bit cranky with that candle there because it's a big, ugly candle. And I reckon last Tuesday, I might have mentioned also 50 cents. It's a bit of a lock. I mean, it's one of those where you go, well, that and that together, I kind of have to go minus one-third. Okay, what do we do now? You know what? I mean, this candle here was pretty good. So, that's okay. And then that. Yeah. Okay. So those aren't great candles. And I think they're all serving to get us to here, which is the important bit. So we are seeing support coming in here, which is good. Long-term trend is good. That is a long way away. So if we can get a bounce from here, so for Terry, this is starting to look encouraging. So I'm just going to delete that for a second, right? So we've got some encouraging signs. This candle here is even better than the EL8 candle when you think about it. It is probably the best candle we've seen today. We maybe, what are we now? Getting close to close. We've probably done 25, 30 stocks today. That is the best candle we have seen today. So that's impressive. It's telling me demand is coming in. It's coming in at a logical place. I would suggest to you that much of the selling that occurred at 50 cents is looking at low 30s as cheap again. And that's encouraging. It's not people got out at 50 and they never want to trade this again. It's getting out at 50 looking to buy it back cheaper. So I like this. 100% I'm happy to hold it. I don't think we need to be thinking about managing our exits after a candle like that. I think we need to be thinking about finding signals potentially to add back if we sold a third prior, or if you don't have it, then to buy again. So let's keep an eye on this one. ArafuraResources, ticker code ARU, 100% hold for today. That is a great candle. The candle's still live, so if we get to the end of trading today and that has completely flamed out and turned into an upper shadow, forget everything I said. Then I think you have to actually manage your exit, Terry. So this is pretty pivotal. Like, this is pretty key here. Either the demand is coming back in today or it's not, and we're going to find out by the close. So you've got a little bit of work to do on that one. AVZ. Is this one a buy? This one's come from Chris. I don't think it's a buy because we're not seeing what a great couple of stocks to get one after the other, isn't it? ARU and then AVZ. Because compared to ARU, now look, let me just go back to ARU and let's look at the demand candle that's coming in at that supply zone. And let's go to AVZ and look at what happened at that, if I called it a supply zone, I apologize, the demand zone. So this light green zone. So instead of getting that big white candle here, look what we got instead. We've got this big black candle, and then we've slipped today. And not only have we slipped today, instead of being a white candle like ARU, look at this upper shadow, telling me that we're actually selling. Okay, consolation prize is that the old point of supply, yes, there's a couple here, because we can see it tested a few times. You can see exactly what I mean by points of supply and testing. Should act as a point of demand, and therefore if you haven't already got out, and if you haven't got out, I tell you what, that was an almighty sell signal to get rid of some. If you hadn't, then that is just as bad, and then that third one is there. So it did scream at you a little bit to say take some profits. I think there's enough in it to hold it, just on the basis that we want to see the demand come in here. Now it's going to be quite important from here. You've got a bit of work to do, Chris, from here, because you need to watch the candles. So in here we need to see candles, and you know the ones I like to see, they need to look like, okay, I'm just going to point them out, that candle there potentially, and that candle there. If we start to see these three types of candles pop in, X marks the spot at a old point of supply, that's good. That's a good sign. Okay, I can't tell you until it happens, so that's your homework. Just keep an eye on it. AGL, this one is for Andrew. Looks fine, Andrew. Hang in there. Don't think there's any reason to get out of that just yet. I'm pretty happy with it. I know it's been a bit boring, but sometimes boring is beautiful. I think we started talking about this one all the way back here at sort of 650, so 850. I think we're pretty happy with that one. Are there any major sinister sell signals in there? Those two candles aren't great, but they're so tiny. Just if I zoom in within the context of that demand side candle. So we're watching this candle here, and we're just saying, okay, we don't want to see the low of this candle get breached. So we don't see it close beneath that candle, because if it closed beneath that candle, then we would be heading back down again. But otherwise, with it holding above the low of that candle, then I'm pretty happy. A couple of lower shadows there, so that's all good. Pretty happy with that one, Andrew. Next one is, I've got a few here from Anonymous, BHP. Pretty happy with that one. I'm going to zoom back out again. It's very important to zoom back out once you zoom in to give you a bigger picture trend. Yeah, look, I said very happy, but this is all good. But let's face it, that and that and that are pretty good indications that we're going to see, probably a little bit of a pullback. Where can we pull back into? $50, and then we're going to see how we respond from there. So if we want to see all those demand side candles pop in at $50, that will tell us the trend is intact. We're heading back up, and what we're seeing here is really the early stages of just testing into this old point of supply. If we see these black candles continue, instead of getting demand candles at 50, we get a bunch of supply candles at 50, I'll be more concerned that the trend is changing, okay? Right here, right now, these are not great candles. They're telling us we're probably going to pull back. Let's see how we go from there, okay? The broader trend is strong enough to call BHP a hold. It's not a buy, it's a hold. Anonymous has gone for FMG. Anonymous, don't be anonymous, please, next time. Look, pretty much ditto on that. These candles are pretty strong supply candles. They're quite indicative of probably more of a pullback, and then I'd be looking at how we go in here. If we get the white candles in here that I like to see, I think we're heading back up. If we don't get the candles I like to see in there, then we may go down. Nothing we can do about it now because we have to wait and see, get those candles. Anonymous has gone for the triple there with Min. Again, not a great candle here. It is enough in combination with this candle to indicate probably a pullback is the highest probability scenario, and then we're just wanting to see where, and I'd be watching that point there, that low, which is the low of that big demand side candle. I'd be saying it's around about 56.80 is where we want to see the demand come back into point to move back up. If we close beneath 56.80 with some big black candles, then we're probably going to move back down again. Those three are pretty similar. Ross has asked for Hansen, HSM. Now, Hansen looks pretty good. It has come up on my scans. I haven't put it in because it's not knocking my socks off in terms of some of these, this has got a bit of a history here. Look at these black candles through here. Big point of supply up here. It's just a bit ugly, okay? I could happily go a hold here, though. I could happily go a hold on the basis that we have moved through the long-term trend zone, and hopefully it's acting as support. We've got some decent candles today on what is a tough day for technology stocks, and this is a technology stock. So on the basis that we are here, we're doing well here, the price action has turned up, there are some white candles coming in, There's nothing really going on in the volume there to get me too excited though. I think it's a solid hold. I can't call it a buy. It has been coming up on my scans, but I skip right past it. Okay. Now, if I start to see some nice white candles, all that sort of good stuff, I'll get more excited. But still, I can see this big point of supply up here, and that is just getting me down a bit. From James, hey Carl, extremely late. That's okay, has to work. Sometimes we have to work. Got out of Liontown last week. Did I make the right call? Well, that's interesting. And we can say it's down, so you made the right call. But if the chart looked great and you got out, then that's probably the wrong call. We did look at this one. Actually, we didn't look at this one last week, but I did an article on it on the website. I said, look, to me, it just screams. I can't really find a better signal. Minus 1/3. I mean, that is just such a nasty candle. So it was a take profit. So I don't think you did the wrong thing. I think if you saw that candle and you said, no, I don't like the look of this, I'm getting some out, I think that's the right thing to do. Since then, it's been all supply, no demand. It's broken through some key areas of what should have been support. We haven't seen that active support. Today's candle's not closed, but we're probably going to interact with this level here. Buy, hold, or sell on Liontown. I think there's enough in it to hold it, and that's because the long-term trend is still very much well established. I think there is probably going to be some demand in here around about 150, a little bit of a round number, and it's an area of previous demand. Okay, what I need to see in there are those white candles. If I see the white candles, what do they look like? And I know that's repetition, but repetition is the mother of all learning. If I see these white candles, like this, and this, and if I see them all appearing in here, that is a big tick, and I would suggest to you that Liontown has got more in it, and it's probably going to run. If instead of those white candles in here we see more of these black candles, I would say it's in trouble, and it could even break down below that level. There you go. Lake, great finish. Why not? Why not finish on these two? Now, this is we've got textbook sell here, so this is another one. Again, as textbook as I can get. Print them out, stick them on your wall wherever you do your research, because when you see this huge engulfing candle takes out what was really, to be fair, a nice demand candle, you've got to just be sensible. And after what was an exponential move, you have to say, I've got to get some off the table. And then we looked at the candles again. We say, this one here is not a convincing candle to the upside, maybe not enough to sell it. This one, I think, is a minus 1/3. That one's definitely a minus 1/3. This one is definitely minus 1/3, and this one's a minus 1/3 as well. And if we put them all together and say that together, if you didn't pick up on one or all of them, then we'd call that minus 1/3 also. That you potentially have got 1/3 left on the lake, and you'll just see what happens with that. What to do with that last third? Same sort of stuff. I think the key level now is here. So let's look at this sort of 180 area. Why? Because there was a little peak trough in there. We'd like to see, and there's this actually great demand candle in here as well. Okay. 180s. 80s are often good places where you see rallies from. So they crack the round number and then they stop at 80 and they rally again. We've got the short-term trend zone coming in around here. So there's a confluence of factors here which could create a point of demand. Okay. Now, what would that point? How would we know this demand? We don't just get in because there might be demand there. What are we looking at? Okay, broken record. These are the candles you want to see in that zone. If you see those candles in that zone, Lake's probably got more in it. You would hang on to it. You might even start to upgrade it to a buy. If we see black candles appear in this zone, not the white candles, then we've probably got more to go. Okay. And I know I said the same thing over and over and over again today in today's presentation, but that was deliberate. That's kind of the point here. Hopefully, the more we do it, the more it sinks in. I'll be back next Tuesday, of course, if you didn't get your question answered, to do more of the same again. Hey, if you're not with Think Markets, you should be a Think Markets client, of course, especially if you're still trading with your old bank and you're still paying, $15-20 a share for your trades. The greatest thing about us, of course, is the customer support. You get to call up and talk to an actual person, and of course, you get my research. But wide range of trading products there. So get on and have a look. If you're new to Think Markets, we've got a bit of a kicker there for you. 10 free trades is an offer I've got going at the moment. But if you say you had the fortune of listening to me today, you get an extra 10 free trades. And if you're already a client, we do have this refer a friend offer. And surely, again, 4 people who are still trading with their banks that can get the benefit of trading with us, and you'll get a big whack of trades for free as well. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the little bell icon. That'll get you notified every time I publish a new video to the site, and make sure you hit the like button to let us know you like what we're doing. Apart from that, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. Hopefully you got lots out of it. Hopefully you are navigating this little mini crisis we're having in the markets, it won't last forever. Stocks will be going up at some stage, and not too distant future. We'll have some wonderful charts to talk about. All the best for your trading. Until then, bye-bye for now.